other reasons. The other end of it. As tough as that game was, obviously, after the game, sitting in a dugout for 45 minutes where parents are waiting on their kids to come out and guys are just crying and loving on each other. I was actually more proud of that group because they didn't want to leave each other's side after we got beat by Versailles. But that game, obviously, I'm going to remember forever. You know, we got the rain, and it's raining, and Justin goes out to the mound, and I mean, if he has a good game, he has a chance at Worthy's single-season ERA record. That's the kind of year Justin had, and he couldn't do anything. The mound was wet. He just struggled. So I'm talking to the site director. Hey, let's play tomorrow. Let's play tomorrow. No, coach, don't worry. I got the radar. We're going to finish this game. So in the second inning, I'm like, well, we got to do what we got to do. Justin didn't have it, and we're obviously down. So we bring in Dylan Bauer, and Dylan, I think went 2 innings maybe he went 2 1/3, the most all year. So, and before I put Dylan in, I go to the site manager again. Can we finish this tomorrow? Because you got to worry about pitch counts and things of that nature. Well, Dylan battles his tail off for the next 4 1/3, I believe it was, maybe 5 1/3, and gives his team a chance to win. Obviously we're up. We're up, and it starts pouring. And once again, we got a delay. Don't worry, coach. We're going to finish this. Okay.
Well, even Dylan said to you, "I'm not coming out."
Yeah. So Dylan comes in because I went to Dylan in the 4th inning, or met him right before the 5th, and I said, "Dylan, this is as far as you've gone. Great job. Way to get us back in it." He looked right at me and goes, "Coach, I ain't coming out." And I was like, "Okay." And Dylan battled, and obviously we had the lead, 10-8, I believe is what it was. And they finally stopped the game. Well, with Ohio pitch counts, Justin had just thrown, Andrew threw 2 days prior, and then now Dylan wasn't allowed to come back. He pitched amazing. I believe he only threw about 40 pitches, but it was over the 1-day limit. So he wasn't allowed to pitch the next day. So we had to throw Seth. I went with Seth. Problem was Seth hadn't thrown that much. He had some soreness earlier in the year, so we only got about 7 innings. And obviously it was just a devastating inning where they went up 13-10. But even then, our guys battled back. We had bases loaded in the bottom of the last inning. We ended up losing 13-11. And as I said, as tough as that loss was, and it was as tough as any loss I've ever had in my life as a player or coach, to be in the dugout for 30, 45 minutes with a bunch of guys just hugging on each other and everybody crying and bawling and just did not want to leave the dugout, not want to move on to the next thing. It was just amazing to be a part of that with that group.
God can work through so many things, because Seth's best game in football in his career was the game we lost this past season, where we came back from 16 points down with 9 minutes left in the game. We tied it, went over like double, triple overtime, and lost on a 2-point conversion that we didn't get. But that was his best game ever, was a loss, and that was our one of our great memories. Is you don't always win them all. I'm so grateful we have a savior, because we win in the end, big time.
Well, you talk about winning championships. There's only one team that does that. That's it. In Division III baseball, at the end of this baseball season, there'll be one team that
wins their last game.
Wins the last game. Everybody else doesn't. It is. The losses that we eat up. We had one the year before that it's same as you. It's a loss that will eat me forever. I've had several of them coach and select baseball teams. I think the unique thing about the game of baseball is those memories never leave you. So it's nice to be able to. You said it. You said what's one of the most unforgettable moments, and my mind right away goes to like this loss and this loss and this loss.
Absolutely.
Because that's the way a game of baseball is. It's tough to win. And you have to like search your thoughts. So to be able to like, hey, yeah, I do. We did this. And while some people say that the Anna game, it was 13-10, it wasn't a walk-off win. It wasn't a walk-off defensive win. It wasn't somebody stealing home. It wasn't any of those things. But it was still a special win. But it's harder to get those memories, I think. And whether that's human nature or you just as a coach, you wear losses, I think, for longer sometimes. You celebrate, because if you win that game, like the Anna game, we celebrated that, and the next day we showed up to practice and we started getting ready for the next team that we were going to play. And so I think that's sometimes what escapes you when you're coaching is when you are winning, you're thinking about the next game. when all of a sudden that loss happens, there's no next game, so that one just lingers with you.
Absolutely. I mean,
Forever.
Yeah, I mean, hearing him talk about the whole team was. I remember there was a game in 2010 in the tournament, first tournament game. Coach Sharp decides, hey, what freshmen are we going to bring up so they can get the experience? And we brought up a kid named Matt Farmer. Who, if you knew Matt Farmer, he doesn't look like an athlete at all. And he got one at bat in the first tournament game, and he went yard at North Riverdale. I don't know if he ever hit another home run in his life, but in his first varsity at bat, he went yard. So I remember that memory, right?
Oh. Pretty cool.
That's like being the first kid to commit out of your class. All of a sudden, that's a memory. It's like I was a freshman and I went yard.
Yeah, his first at bat,
My first at bat.
He pinch hit, had a lead, and you know.
Well, hey, we're getting close to the end here, guys. So what stories do you need still be telling? I mean, what's out there? Is there anything you know? Some of you guys came super prepared, and thought through a lot of memories.
I would say, and this isn't a memory about anything, you know, in the 3 years where I was involved, obviously before we brought Doug in, those 3 years, you guys sent some stuff out, hey, look at this. More than anything, it gave me an opportunity to go back and look over those 3 years, because those memories can leave you in a hurry. And you start thinking about, you know, like that 2016 season, we got a brand new field, and it is a gorgeous field. And so those are some of the things you think about, but the reality is like that wasn't a very good team, and you don't think about that until you go back and look at some of the players that were on that team. No, that's probably not fair to them, because they graduated, and that happens a lot in programs. When you graduate a lot of kids and they move on, all of a sudden you're looking back and going, okay, where's everybody else if you're not, you know, doing that development piece. And I'd say that was probably one of the unique things, kind of digging back and bringing up some memories. But, you know, the other thing is when that happened with Pav, and they said, hey, you know, because I mean, it's tough for me. I have a full-time job, and I was coaching another summer team, so that's a big commitment to be able to commit to this. Even that first season, I helped a little bit in the 16th season. I was coaching another team full-time, I mean, because they were still in the 8th grade. So as we were playing as the high school season was going on, so I even missed some of those games. When I went to, you know, after that season was over, we had a great season in 18. Now I'm not taking anything away from any other seasons. I went to the AD and said, we need to go find a coach that can take this program and build a legacy for the program. You know, for me, it's my kid's going to graduate in a couple years, and I don't want, when I leave, all of a sudden the program has to start over. So that's one of the things. I mean, Ben's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, it's the best thing for the program. You know, this isn't about me. And I remember sitting down with Doug, and him and we'd probably texted back and forth. I don't even know if we had talked before that.
Not face to face.
Just from, you know, hey, do you want to schedule some games, stuff like that. And when we sat down he had already interviewed with Ben, and when we sat down with James was the principal at the time, the three of us sat down. Yeah, it was like a big relief for me knowing that, hey, this is a baseball guy. And, you know, he came prepared as a baseball guy, and that was something I thought, this is going to be great for the school, and just for him going back through all the record books and building these records out and trying to build a culture of, hey, we're going to have a baseball program to where if you wear number 8, you know in the program who wore number 8 before you. If you know, those type of things I think matter for the culture. And even doing this and be able to hear stories about, you know, some of the players you had. Obviously, I knew some of the players you had because my older son played during that time frame too, so I got to see some of those kids play. But I mean, before that, you don't really know. If you're involved in other things, you don't know. So I think that's, you know, if you have the field, that's great. But if you can build a legacy around a program and build a culture around a program to where, I mean, ultimately what we're trying to do here is to bring people in here to hear about God. And if you can do that through athletics and through sports, why not? I mean, we have this gym now. Hopefully that's another piece of the puzzle on building that out. Trying to build his game plan. Ultimately, that's what we're here for.
I think it's like I just think back to, you know, being a young 27-year-old coach here at DC, and you know, thanks to Mark Combs for taking a chance on me. He didn't have to. He could have taken the ride somewhere else. And you know, along that time, I got to meet with you guys, and sitting at this table is pretty cool. It's like it's just reassuring, you know, that like that God is still moving, and that that was my hopes as well. The life circumstances changed a little bit, yeah. My hopes was that Dayton Christian baseball got back to where it needed to be. And, hearing juniors and seniors talk about how they had beaten Troy Christian. What's so special about Troy Christian? I don't care if one Troy Christian person hears this. I could care less. Like that's how much, like, you beat your rivals. You take care of business. That's what it was about. And that's something that's been ingrained by a lot of DC people. I guess you could use the terminology of Ohio State, that team up north. We don't care for that green and gold. And that's something that was quickly. And Steve has, from day one, he's kind of taken me underneath his wing, and then I've been able to coach your son. And Tim, you helped out with a little bit with me, and then you made sure it got transitioned into a baseball guy. With Doug, and I've been able to build a relationship with Doug over the last year. And it's the DC baseball is in the right direction, and it's in the right hands. That's kind of. Listen, I hope you guys win 26 games this year.
Not 27.
Except for May 4th, right?
I do. I always keep tabs on DC. Even when I was in Kentucky, it was important to me. I wanted to see DC do well. This is the place that gave me the first opportunity. And we've always been told our life, know where you came from. And know where the roots started. And the roots definitely started here. So, I'm thankful for this opportunity to be around this table with this group of guys. It's pretty cool.
It's interesting. One more quick story from me, and I'd love to hear from you guys as well. But you talk about Troy Christian. It brings up memories that we had again moved here about 3 years ago, and all of a sudden I didn't know any of the history, any of the with DC baseball. All I knew is I came for a visit in October, had a baseball field, and that was where the Lord gave me a job, and we moved for a variety of reasons. But I come to games, and I'm sitting there by the gate a few times, and I got my Luke, my next to youngest son.
Luke the back.
He's the unpaid coach. Well, anyway, we're standing there, and I'm just sort of absorbing it all in. It's sort of like going to the Centerville game. You're just sort of my son's playing, but you're sort of not what's going on. Well, then Coach Bauer starts reaching in there and keeps handing gum out through the fence. And Luke would chew it for about 30 seconds, then like this, and all of a sudden he'd be like a little bird coming back for more gum. And eventually, my son is a baseball guy. Luke is. My oldest most definitely is. And Luke is too. And all of a sudden he goes, "Hey, Eric, do you think he'd want to be bat boy?" And I'm like, does a fish swim? Yeah, I think he'd love to be a bat boy. And now he's starting his 4th year. But the best story out of all that is my wife. We're just scrambling. We're living in an apartment. We're trying to figure out which ends up and try to get everybody integrated into the school. And you guys were blessed enough to put him on the mound at Fifth Third Field. And I'm like, what are you thinking? And against Troy, I didn't know that the rivalry at that point now with Troy.
That's his freshman year for the league championship.
Oh yeah, and I'm like, but you don't even realize. I don't even realize the magnitude of that. Well, my wife had gone and gotten Luke a shirt and everything else because you're gonna be a bat boy at Fifth Third Field. You got to look like it. And so anyway, and one of the pictures that got sent out in the Twitter feed was Coach Bauer sitting there, going like this next to Luke. And Luke is had just turned 7, so he's really young. But anyway, Andrew had thrown at that point, clearly the game of his life. He battled a senior pitcher from Troy, 6 1/3 innings, and Owen comes in, closed the game out, win the championship. And my 7-year-old son was on cloud 9. They put him on his shoulder. He couldn't think of anything better. Well, and all of a sudden the next day, Andrew comes home. I said, what was it like being sort of big man on campus? You realize you just won the conference, and he goes, I have no idea. Luke's more popular than I am. Because he's this little 7-year-old kid,
And to be perfectly honest, for our team, I know a lot of people love to talk about Dylan Bauer, who's a great player, right, all area, and Justin Dilhoff and Andrew Dreyer. The reason I believe that is what it is, and I've told this to anybody who would listen, it's Seth Griswold, and we haven't talked about him that much other than the strike zone, right? He has a culture of acceptance, and he controls the dugout. So he may not lead the statistics, but with where the program is going, we couldn't be there without Seth Griswold. Everybody loves Seth. The fact that Luke's a big man on campus is because, well, if Grizz accepts you, everybody accepts you.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the way it works in our dugout. So something like Seth, right, who I really want to mention because I haven't got to talk to about him much, but he's the reason for one of the biggest reasons for our success. Justin Dilhoff, who has taken the freshmen and sophomores under his wing every morning at 6 a.m. for the last 2 years in the weight room because Dylan's swimming. And last year Andrew was playing basketball, but Justin's always in there with the young guys, just committing to them to try to help them grow. And that's the stuff that you don't see, as he was talking about in the weight room, things like that. At 6 a.m. when I always joke around, that's where a lot of schools are still sleeping. We're trying to get better, and that's the stuff like that I want to make sure gets said.
Absolutely. Steve,
Anybody else?
anything you want? Any parting words you'd like to?
Parting words, yeah, I've got some parting words. I was unable to win a district championship. All right, I lost in the district final. I think you lost in the district final with DC. I think you lost in it. I think we all four have lost. This is the year. This is the year you guys drop that monkey. Get the monkey off your back. It's gonna happen this year. This is the team.
I hope so.
This is the team. And I really believe it's gonna happen. I think, like you said, we're on solid ground here. This program's on solid ground.
Because we're standing on the shoulders of those who've gone before us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, and obviously, and Steve's been phenomenal. I mean, I don't know how many times I'd reach out to him on Twitter because that was the only way I could get in touch with him. I'm like, hey, what about this, and he's just feeding me information and helping me. And he was one of the first guys that congratulated me when I got the job. And I remember one time on Twitter, I kind of got a chuckle out of it. He's like, here's my cell phone, use that. I gave me his cell phone number, and I was like, well, if Steve gave me his cell phone number, I guess I'm in at DC. But so, I mean, I want to thank him for everything he's done to set this up and help me in the transition.
It's been a pleasure spending time with you guys tonight. Really, really fun.
Absolutely.
Let's do this again after we get that district championship.
Yeah, I was going to say, no,
Just get in a different bracket.
Part two.
Yeah.
That's overthinking. I'm like,
It could come down to Madison versus DC.
Yeah, but let's make it in the regional.
Yeah.
However, but God's in control. We wish everybody the best. So for this version of the Warrior Wrap Up, I'm Grizzy.
I'm Ed. Good night and God bless.